Hello, everybody, and welcome to the new season of the CADS Podcast. We're getting started tonight, just the two of us. We're having a nice, slow start to the season. We're not going too hard, we're not going too fast. It's like Tottenham in the transfer market, slowly catching monkey. We're almost there, but we're here. This has to be something like season 11 or 12. I think we've been doing this 10 years at least, minimum. So, yeah, welcome to CADS. And as always, I'm joined by Ash. How you doing, Ash?
All right, mate. Good to see you again. Glad we're
Good to see you.
still both here.
It's been a summer. It's been a hot summer, and I'm English, living in France, and dealing with what they call a canicule, which is like the heat wave. I'm not coping well. I'll be honest. It's too hot for me. I'm melting. But yeah, the football has kind of cooled things down a little bit, though. Have you been watching?
I have, but I've been watching other things as well. We've actually surprisingly had, in California, of course, not Northern California, Southern California.
Yeah.
We've actually had a very pleasant summer because we also have very little humidity here anyway. But it's been a surprisingly, apparently like you and also like rest of America is sweltering, and we're kind of okay, which is great. Of course, fires could happen at any time, like they did earlier this year.
Yeah. Yeah, there was another set of wildfires in America, wasn't there? Somewhere I did see news, but I didn't actually register as to where it was.
They've had some in California again already.
Yeah.
So,
and we've had some down near Marseille.
oh,
So near where Professor Matt Pieri lives. But I checked with him. He's okay. He's nowhere near it.
okay.
Yeah. So let's. We've avoided it. We do need to talk about it. We are a football podcast. Let's talk about the football. Ash, what have you seen of our preseason so far, and what have been your thoughts?
Well, first of all, I'm still living off the Europa League win because I think we may have to do that for a bit to live off the glory, and I'm going to for a while. And apparently, Thomas Frank at Brøndby and Brentford, apparently before us, had a slow start to both of his early in his career in those two places. I'm expecting similarly with us, which is going to drive a portion of our fans bonkers. So the preseason sort of, I can see that happening. I'm being, like I often am, phlegmatic about it. And since he is our new manager, and he is bringing new tactics, new formations, new players, newish players. I think it's going to be kind of slow, and we should expect that, and not get too verklempt, as Linda Richmond from Saturday Night Live, Mike Myers, used to say. I'm feeling a little verklempt.
Yeah, I believe the numbers were he lost first 9 matches when he was at Brøndby, and he lost first 9 matches. Yeah, and he lost 8 out of his first 10 matches when he was at Brentford. But we are kicking off with a match against Burnley. So I mean, if you're getting, there could not be an easier start to the season.
Well, any team, let's face it, is not going to be an easy start. The Premier League, and I think the Premier League is going to be even tough, as tough this year as it was last year, with teams like Nottingham Forest competing and whatever. It's not going to be easier. So anybody, and I know some of our lads, our dear beloved lads, have said, "Oh, we're going to be top 4." I'm going, well, you know what?
That would be delightful. I don't see it happening, but that would be delightful.
Absolutely. But since he is our manager, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. I do like him. Here's my best case scenario is that, having been with smaller clubs and then not having even the money that we have, even though we don't seem to be spending it, that he has turned that group of players into something very competitive, and sometimes very attractive. I'm hoping in time, it might not even be this season, might be later in the season, that he can actually do that with the squad that he has. That's my best case scenario for the season. So I'm going to be positive, but I'm expecting it's going to be challenging.
My concern in that regard is managers that have a history of overachieving.
Mhm.
Overachievement, there gets a point where there's diminishing returns on it, right? If you're expected to finish in 14th and you finish 10th, you've overachieved. You've done extremely well, right? But if you're supposed to finish in 7th and you finish 6th, then it's not looked at as quite an achievement. And frankly, I think this year we'd probably be lucky to finish 7th. We've lost one player who we all loved, Sonny, um, and I don't think nobody's had a bad word to say against him since he left. Lovely fella, great footballer, and even though his numbers weren't as strong as they were in previous seasons, he still met his expected goals, and he scored what, 15 goals, 10, 15 goals last season.
7
You know,
goals.
no, in Europe as well.
I don't think it was 15. I think he had something like 20 something
Goal involvements.
goals
Yeah.
and assists. He did not get. I'm pretty sure he didn't get 15 goals even. But I'm
Well,
sure.
I
I'm
will
sure
I will look it up and I will add it right there. Okay.
exactly.
Well, that number of goals and assists from last season, including European matches and cups. But losing him, losing James Maddison, who I would be surprised if he plays football this season. You know,
It it might be surprising that he may never play for Spurs again.
frankly, he's what, 28, 29 years old. He has a history of injuries. This is his second knee injury in a row. There's a chance he'll never play football again.
There you
You
go.
know, I mean, he will get the very, very best of care at Tottenham. He's going to get the best of medical care. Naysayers beware. I'm sure the medical team have improved since last season. But he will get the best surgical care to start with because Spurs will pay up for the best. He will then get the best follow-up care. He will get the best physios and he'll have the best place to train again, which gives him the best chance to do that. But for a player of his age coming back from an injury like that, that used to be a career ender. And the only reason it's not now is because of how good medicine has got. So part of me still says we may never see him again as a footballer, even. I'm sure he'll make a great pundit, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him, moonlighting here and there whilst he does his recovery to see him on TV and things like that. But yeah,
And
um,
Sonny, Madison, who else?
Kulusevski.
Right?
Kulusevski's out until potentially October, November, apparently, and apparently he's now on grass. He's on grass, but he's not running and training at
Always,
full speed.
always good to be on grass.
It's always good to be on grass, says the man in California.
Exactly. It's legal here.
Yeah, and then of course Dominic Solanke, who we don't really know what his situation is because there's been very little news.
And
So
you
is he
doggy.
out for a long time?
And you
Andrew
dog.
Doggy, which will bring me to a complaint, I'm sure, later on. Yeah, but there's so many players, so many goal involvements missing, sold or missing through injury at the start of the season. It's very, very worrying because it's not easy to bring in new players and immediately expecting them to get those kind of numbers.
Hey, since we finished 17th last year, would you consider, say we finished 15th or 16th, would you consider that overachieving?
It really depends on who gets brought in. There's still time before the transfer window closes, and we know that Tottenham do like to do business late in the window, right? It's happened so many times. Last year, I think we tried to get the business done earlier, but we still had played the first game before Solanke came in, and Solanke was genuinely our only first team signing of the summer. I think sorry, not Ash, yeah, Ashley Gray, Archie Gray. What am I saying? Archie Gray and Lucas Berreval. Those two were not expected to play the kind of minutes they did last season. I mean,
Right.
thank heavens they were as good as they were because we really needed them. But we will need to wait and see what level of involvement they're going to have. I think Berreval has proven himself, but I think Archie Gray is still kind of a little bit on the cusp of being a first team player or being a sub option. I think right now he's a sub option.
Yeah, it's going to be so. What you're intimating is that you're almost adding what I'm saying is it's going to be a very challenging start, and quite frankly, it might be similar to Brøndby and Brentford. We may not win many of
I
those.
genuinely don't know if he could survive a Brøndby or Brentford start.
You
If
right?
we
So
go
that yeah,
if we
that
go 9 games without a win, or we lose 8 out of the first 10, can you imagine 6 points from 10 games? That's yeah. Oh, that's almost Juan de Ramos type numbers.
yeah,
And we'll be I don't know who will be parachuting in as our savior this time, but it would be very, very difficult for him to survive it. I don't think he's going to have that kind of start. I
yeah,
think he's going to be
not
extremely,
that.
extremely pragmatic, extremely phlegmatic,
Yeah,
and he will make us very, very hard to beat. And even with Udogie out, we've got Spence to come in there, and Spence had his best games at left back last season, I thought. If we can get that defence right, Joao Palhinha, who is our one of two signings we've made for the first team, if he starts well, he will stiffen up that midfield something chronic, and suddenly we become a very hard to beat side.
the
A hard to beat
the
side is a good start.
yeah, I actually, from what I've seen of the preseason, and I didn't, apart from the highlights, I didn't see the Bayern game. Um, Part of what I was pleasant was that we did seem more pragmatic and stronger defensively. Um, and it was partly because of formation and tactics, which he's brought in, and it's
Mm-hmm.
quite obvious to see that. Plus, and I know some of our CADs were going, boy, I'm glad to be short of that. Remember all that faffing about last season, passing the ball back and forth between our defenders. I haven't seen a lot of that in the preseason, which is kind of a good thing.
There's been
But
some.
some, but I've also seen a lot more long balls because Kinski can do that. Vicario on his left foot is a bit dodgy, but yes, I agree. We will be harder to break down, but then that comes in basically to everything else. Who's going to be our creators and who's going to score? So hard to break down, but the two other aspects are tied in, creating and scoring.
Yeah, but again, I'm not a Spurs fan because I want to see us being hard to beat. I want to see us playing good football. That's the base reason for me being a Spurs fan is I like good football and I enjoyed watching Spurs play many, many years. And realistically, one season of poor football or 2 seasons of poor football or probably 5 seasons of poor football isn't going to change anything. I will still be a Spurs fan. That ain't changing anytime today. But we need to have some kind of hope. I think it's the hope that kills you. We need some kind of hope in there that things are going to get better and improve. And I think they will. I'm still relatively positive that we've got a manager in place who can make the best of what he's been left with, and he's not been left with scraps because he's still got very, very good players, but he has been had almost the heart ripped out of the team, right? You've had your captain sold, your vice captain injured for the rest of the season, your other vice captain, there's still a lot of talk about, oh, maybe he's not going to sign a new contract and he'll be leaving, if not this summer, then next summer. That's not a good thing to be starting the season with.
Yeah. Yeah, I said this. No, let me just backtrack for a second. When we were just talking about to dare is to do and what, and in fact, Frank, in his first big interview, was talking BAA, bold, aggressive, attacking, brave.
Mm.
Maybe it was brave, aggressive, and attacking. We don't seem to be that in preseason so far. So yes, that's falling into our philosophy of why we became Spurs fans. But let me just backtrack to last season. Uh, we were all over the moon over winning that Europa title, but
Yeah.
we won it by being pretty pathetic in the league and playing very, I won't even mention their names, Catenaccio type ball, Ange ball.
Pragmatic.
Yeah, pragmatic.
Pragmatic ball. Yeah.
And I think we were all very happy because we desperately, desperately wanted to win something. And I was quite happy watching that game in LA with like 400 of my co-Spurs fans, LA
Hmm.
Spurs fans, praying to my mother saying, Mom, can we just win this game? I don't mind. 1-0, beat Dad's team. We did, and I was happy. But in the cold light of day, you're right. Is that what we want? Pragmatism like that? Will we accept that again this season? Although, quite frankly, most probably we're not going to win the Champions League. Most probably we're not going to win the Premier League. Most probably we're not going to finish in the top 4. We're not in the Europa League this year. So you know what? Our best case example of any success will be winning the League Cup or the FA Cup. That'll be it for the most part, I believe, this season.
If we could win the League Cup, that would be good, right? Certainly with the team we've got right now. And again, I'm not expecting the team we've got right now to be the team that we end the transfer window with. You know, there will be players leaving, there will be players joining. I have no doubt about that. Okay. How many players join and whether they meet my expectations, and I am just a lowly podcaster who has his thoughts on what should be happening. I have no influence whatsoever. Everybody knows that. But my hopes are that we get in 1 or 2 creative midfielders, that we get in a left back, and ideally it would be nice to have a real threat from the left as well, because although I think Odegaard has a lot of promise, and I think Tell could potentially turn into a very good player, they're still very, very young guys, and maybe just getting an experienced player in to play from the left from a little while might help them to grow as well. So just add a little bit more. But again, the problem is, and we talked about this so many times at the end of last season, is our squad size. Our squad size is on the big side. And we've still got players to move on. We've still got Manor Solomon, we've still got Brian Hill, you know, and potentially other players as well that could leave. Some youngsters have gone out on loan. I kind of wish we'd kept at least one of them or 2 of them. Well, I wouldn't have let Donnelly go. I wouldn't have let Mikey Moore go. But apparently Mikey Moore wanted to stay. Mikey Moore wanted a loan move this year. So, okay, fair enough.
Totally agree. I thought, wow, let's just ship them all out. And going, what? You know, and quite frankly, you're very close. I know you have watched the academy boys a lot more than most of us have, and we appreciate that, and giving us, you know, updates. And you've spoken about Donnelly for quite a while, and Mikey Moore, you spoke also. And yes, I totally agree. Like, what? Let's just ship them out. What do we have? You know, so that needs to be questioned. Although you would hope that Frank was okay with those sort of mass shipping out of academy players.
I'm sure it was, because it will help these players in the long term. My thing with Donnelly, you know, a lot of people were saying last season that Donnelly should be integrated into the first team, and I was like, it's too early. He needs to play some proper men's football. And he went to Leyton Orient and he slogged it out in League One, and he got battered a few times. But he also went past a few people and made them look a little bit silly, and provided some lovely balls, some lovely plays, scored a few goals. And then obviously that goal against Man City, which was his goal. I don't care what the statistics say, it was his goal. I thought, having watched him in pre-season this season, he'd taken a step up. I thought he looked solid. I thought he looked like he could be reliable. And having watched him play from the academy days and playing in the reserves, the one thing he's got in his locker is an ability to play through a slide ball, a cutting through ball, that very, very few people are able to manage. He's got great vision, technically very, very good. And when we saw him lining up as a left back in pre-season, I was like, okay, let's see what he can do there. And he didn't let himself down. I thought he did well.
Yeah, and good point about that slide ball, because Matters could do that when he was playing.
Yeah.
And that's gone. So you're right. For the most part, we don't actually right now, unless Berrival and Sa and Gray become men this season and show us their attacking prowess, which would be quite fine. I'd be happy with that if they could actually do that sort of thing.
I was singing the praises of Gray last season. I know statistically his numbers were not great, but he was effectively holding the side together at the back.
Good point.
There
Yeah.
was times he was carrying the ball out like Maldini. He looked fantastic, just stepping out with the ball. He looked really, really good. But also he made some mistakes. But then he's an 18-year-old kid who's played right back and central midfield before and suddenly being asked to play centre back.
Yep.
For what he had been asked to do previously, I thought he did extremely well. And I thought there were signs that, yeah, he could do it. But I don't think that there was one game late in the season where he started in midfield and then finished at the back. And he played in centre back the match before, then he played midfield, then he went again back to the back. And I don't think he's someone that switches easily in mindset between one and the other. I think he probably needs a couple of games in a position to get himself in that right mindset. And we saw, and I think it was the game against Newcastle in pre-season, where he actually looked very good. He was picking up the ball and he was running it. It's probably his best performance in midfield for us. And you're starting to see the player he could be. But I don't think he's an attacking midfielder. Bergvall, maybe. He played there for Djurgården,
Yeah.
and he seems to want to play there. Pat Matasar seems to have that knack of scoring goals. 3 goals in 4 games in pre-season. Very nice. Well done. Keep that up. But I don't know how often you can expect a player to ping it from just outside the centre circle. It might be a bit too much, so I'll expect that every week.
But I'll say this, and yes, we hope that Mr. Levy and Langer and Paratici can actually bring in some players. Say, for instance, they can't. Say it's another Morgan Gibbs White type situation where something just falls through at the last moment, or the guy's coming for the medical to our team, but then goes to the medical to somebody else.
Yeah.
I actually, given the way that Frank has adapted what he had, the quality that he had, this is not going to happen. But say, for instance, we wouldn't bring in anybody else in. I'd be happy to see what he can do with what we have, because we do have a lot of potential, young, potentially quite talented players. And if that's what he has, let's see what he can do. Because we may not get 3 more players. We may only get 1 plus another young player, 1 starting guy perhaps, and then 1 or 2 young players. We may not get what we best case what we'd hope for. So let's see what they can do. So that's why, getting back to Donnelly and even Lancashire, did he go? Because I'm going,
Lancashire's at Oxford for the season.
yeah, I'm going like, well, Richie's not going to do it. First of all, he's going to get injured soon. So
You have zero faith in Richarlison. Clearly,
Yeah.
zero faith.
Yeah, and I actually like the guy, and I like his enthusiasm and things like that. But I like nearly all of our squad. I like him. So Solanke's out. Tell's going to be our attacker. Would have been, well, couldn't we have kept Lancashire? So I question some of those moves unless we really have some things in our back pocket, because you question some of those guys might have helped us out.
Yeah, I'm the reason why I'm still positive on bringing players in, right, is Langer, I think, as we all know, loves to work in silence. Okay, stuff doesn't get leaked from our side anymore. It used to. As soon as Paratici got involved in a transfer this season, everyone knew about it. The potential Bologna move for Brian Hill, right? Everybody knew what was going on. But if there are any leaks nowadays, it comes from the other side. Okay, the Kudus news came from the West Ham side. Morgan Gibbs White stuff came from Nottingham Forest. Okay, the Nico Paz came from Como. Right, all people apparently we were in for, and some of it hasn't worked out. Luckily, Kudus did, but nothing leaks from Tottenham. It doesn't come from our side anymore. Not if Langer's involved. So last season in January, Kevin Danso, not a clue that it was happening. And I knew of the name because I live in France and I watched the occasional game, but I didn't know much about the player, and I certainly wouldn't have put him high up a list of players to buy. I do occasionally keep a list of players that we should be keeping a lookout for. Lovro Major, just in case anyone's listening from Tottenham Hotspur. But Kevin Danso was not on a list of mine. Antonin Kinski, I had never even heard of. It was, it was so far off the radar, and he comes in and he looked excellent. And I still think there's a lot of promise with that young man. And Kevin Danso, now I look at it and I go, well, maybe it's not such a bad thing if Romero leaves, because Danso looks a thoroughly solid player who isn't going to let us down when given the chance. So all of that tells me, if we have some patience, if we give Langer the time to do his work, he will bring in someone who can do the job that we need. And that's where I'm hoping, all my hopes and prayers lay right now.
Well, here's one player, and tell us what you think about him, whether or not we should keep him. You know who I'm talking about? Young
Keep
player.
him.
Yeah, no,
Young player.
young player, keep him with the squad this season.
Vuskovic.
Yeah, because we've shipped out all the other ones. So, what
So
do you think?
apparently, I believe it was Ali Gold. Happy birthday, Ali Gold, by the way. It's Ali Gold's birthday today. He's a member of the forum. Apparently, he said that it was a case of either Vuskovic goes on loan or Kota Takai goes on loan. Kota Takai is injured. Vuskovic has been linked to the same club his brother plays for. It's not, is it Hamburg? Hamburg, I think. He's been linked to them. His brother's on a lengthy drugs ban right now, so they obviously need a defender. But hey, I think Vuskovic is great. I think he can play both sides. He's played left side and right side, same as Danso. I think there's no harm keeping him around and giving him a smattering of minutes. But
Absolutely.
if the club decide they want to they want him to continue to be playing regularly, to continue to have that basis of regular minutes and that development time, then maybe it's best if he goes out on a loan. The problem with him going out on a season-long loan is he will not qualify for our B list for Europe because he'll have been out for a year.
Fine.
It would just that cuts it.
Yeah, and here's me being a journalist. So
Yeah.
putting aside my Spurs side, um, it just seems so weird, and maybe other teams are like this, but nearly all of our potentially exciting, talented players who go on loan, except for Harry Kane, don't come back and play for us. They all just disappear. Mikey Moore may never play for us again. Donnelly, who knows? They just might either they don't quite make it, or I mean, just we could name a handful, maybe more academy players who we touted highly, went on and low,
Mm.
and except for Harry, didn't come back and stick. Come on, I'm sure you agree, unless you can name one. I can't think of many, maybe one.
Including Harry Kane, I can think of three off the top of my head.
Who's that?
Harry Kane, Andros Townsend, Ryan Mason.
Yeah, well, they didn't make significant impact, those two others. Let's face
Oh,
it. No,
Mason played 100 games for Tottenham or so.
Mason, because he got injured, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And Townsend,
Townsend was
1 or 2 seasons,
decent
and
player.
we sold him.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
Harry,
because that's what we do.
well, that's my point. That's my point,
But
which is a big
yeah,
bugbear with me. And I was doing this last season before. If we tout our academy and how good the players are, then why don't more academy players actually stick with the first team and make an impact? It could well be. It's the same for other
it's
teams. It could be. I
it's
don't follow.
such a high bar. It's such a high bar to get to playing Premier League football. Ollie Skip got some. Harry
Yeah.
Winks got some. But they came from the academy and then went into the team. They didn't go out on loan. But then they got sold on because they didn't quite reach the levels that we wanted. Personally, I'd rather have kept Ollie Skip than Højbjerg. I'd rather
Yeah.
kept Winks than Højbjerg. But those are the steps you take. Those are the moves you make in the market. And sometimes you take a risk and you see whether it goes. I think it would be a lot easier if we'd kept players like Skip on, because we could then be including him in the European squad right now, and we
Yep.
kind of need players like that. I liked if we'd kept Dennis Serkin, because Dennis Serkin, who's now at Sunderland, we need a left back, and Dennis Serkin has developed into quite a decent left back, and we talk about us buying him back. Carl Walker-Peters, it was kind of time for him to move on.
You know,
So not all players are going to make it at Tottenham. It would be lovely if it did. Marcus Edwards, I really wanted Marcus Edwards to make it at Tottenham, but he just didn't gel with what the coaches were looking for at the time, and it didn't work out.
Josh Onoma wins was it a Euro or a world title with the under
Yeah,
something, and then we
European
never
champions under 18s. Yeah,
hear from him again. You know, and,
playing
yeah,
at Darlington, something like that. Doncaster, one of those clubs.
unbelievable. I really hope they've got, as you said, quiet on the QT, that there
Hmm.
are things on the way. But if not, I'd be happy to see. I don't think other people would agree with me. I'd be happy to see what Frank can do with what we have, quite frankly. And it'll be a pretty young, new or newish team, and I'd
Hmm.
like to see what he can do, because I bet you our squad as it is right now, with no additions, is better than any squad that he has managed previously. Better already at what we have. So
It's probably not as balanced. It's probably not as balanced as his Brentford squad was. There's there are issues in the side. Okay, clear issues in the side. In terms of the quality of player, um, they've had stars there. They had Ivan Toney. Ivan Toney was an excellent striker. He had Mbumo and Mbumo, however you say it, there last season. Excellent player. He's now gone to Manchester United. But he's never had players like Solanke or Kudus. You know, he's never had central defenders like Mickey van der Ven or Romero. He's never
Romero,
had a
no, we
right
have
back like Porro or Spence or a goalkeeper.
Tyson or your
You
doggy
know,
even. So yeah,
yeah,
he hasn't had where you'd have to agree we have a better. You said balance. I don't know if that's quite true. There's balance in this team, except for the attacking perhaps and the creative
left
midfield is
back,
because the
left back.
creative midfield is because of unfortunately because of injuries. By the way,
Yeah,
just as a small aside, I remember Charlie and I, not just last season, the season before, talking about two players who at presently, one is gone permanently and one is
yeah.
maybe gone permanently. We would talk about putting Madison on the bench just because he was just so inconsistent. As lovely as he could have been, he was just mostly inconsistent or injured. Well, guess
Yeah,
what? He's now
he's
essentially
now
on the,
injured. Yeah.
and then we
When
were
we did
talking.
the when we did the squad review, when everybody got together for the squad review, you know, the question was, is this player good enough for a title challenging side? And I don't think there was anyone that thought that James Maddison was good enough for a title challenging side because of his injury issues. You know,
Right. And then Sonny, we all, and we're so happy he got to raise that trophy. But it was time. It was just time for him to move on. And hey, right, he's right here in my neck of the woods. There was a video of him
I
and
hope you got
Maurice.
your season ticket ready.
No, I'm not interested. I don't watch MLS, so no, I got too many
uh,
other things to do. Good luck to Sonny, and Hugo, and anybody else who comes over here. So two of the players who we thought could be benched, essentially one's gone and one is benched.
yeah.
Effectively is benched. Um, Vuskovic, yeah. So we agree on that. Him staying. Hey, are we going to have some? Quite frankly, I don't worry myself about it because they'll either figure it out or they won't. Are we going to have some real issues with that Europe Champions League squad or what?
Right. So the situation we're in at the moment is we have no problems, apart from the fact that we have to name a 22-man squad instead of a 25-man squad. And the
That's
reason we have no problems is because Madison's injured and because Son has left. We can pretty much register everybody we want to, including Kinski, including Richarlison, who both, for me, were players that were on the bubble. You know, do we not include these players? We can include them. We can include Matis Tel, we can include
how many?
Audebert,
17 foreign players. Is that correct?
17 foreign players, and then you've got 8 players, another 8 players, 4 of which have to be homegrown at club. So for us, that would be Brandon Austin,
Mhm.
who's the only one. Dane Scarlett also counts, but he actually also counts as under 21. So we don't need to register him in that section just yet. Um, but they also have the other thing is homegrown in association, and you can have 4 of those players. So that's your Solankes, your Madisons, Ben Davis counts in there, I believe, and one other. Mind temporarily gone. Archie Gray counts as homegrown association. But because Archie Gray, Lucas Perreval have not had 2 full seasons at the club, they cannot go as under 21 players.
Meaning what?
They cannot be kept. So if you've had an under 21 player who has not been out on a long-term loan, like a 1 year, not whole season loan, season-long loan, and has been registered at the club for more than 2 years between the ages of 15 and 21, then they basically go on what they call List B. And List B is unlimited. You can have as many players as you like. So last season, when we brought in Damola Ajayi, when we brought in Mikey Moore, Lancashire, Scarlett, Kalamula Sesi, all of those guys were List B because they all qualified for List B. Under 21 had been at the club more than 2 years.
Yeah, but they've all gone on.
Most of them have gone on loan now. Yeah. But they would have qualified for List B. So what we've done is we've effectively reduced the size of our squad by sending a load of players out on loan, sold one's out sidelined for the season, which means that we have no problems, even including Palinha.
I don't know if that's true.
It's true. It's true.
Okay, no.
I've got a spreadsheet of it.
17. No, I'd like to see it because
I'll send it to you.
I think we're at 17 players right now. So
we're at the limit.
Yeah,
we're at the limit.
Yeah, Sonny's gone. We're at the limit. Okay, so we bring in any Eze, well, not Eze, but any of these foreign players. Right? We're gonna have to get rid of one, at least one.
Yeah,
2.
We're gonna have to drop someone from the squad.
Right, and you're not probably even including Dragishin, right?
Dragishin is not included because he's not going to be fit for the start of the season.
Right. So we are going to have issues with those foreign players. Without
we're going to have issues as soon as we make a signing. Right now, there are no issues, but we haven't got anybody coming in just yet. Realistically, there's a very good chance that Bissouma is not going to be at the club at the start of the season. Right. So there are players still to leave.
Well, he would drop from that 17 then. Right?
He would drop from that 17, creating a space. Okay, Bentancur is the same situation. He's got 1 year left on his contract. There are clubs that are looking at him and maybe would be interested. Maybe if one of them comes to him with a decent amount of money, then we would look at letting him go and using that money elsewhere. Whatever I think of the player, and I think he's a great player, there is an argument with the issues he's had in terms of fitness and the suspensions and things he's said and done off the pitch. Maybe it might be best to let him start anew somewhere else.
So that could be Bissouma and Bentancur going.
That's Bissouma and Bentancur. And then suddenly you're left in midfield with Archie Gray, Palinha, Berreval, and that's about it. So suddenly you need to bring in midfielders. And Pat Matasar, yeah. So you need to bring in numbers there because you need to have backup. You need to have depth, and depth is a problem we've really struggled with for the last few seasons.
Okay, here let's just talk about this thing because maybe this won't happen. Maybe we won't get that number 10. There are players who could effectively play there. Don't you agree? That we already have.
Right. So we've got Lucas Berreval. We've got Pat Matasar. I personally think that Bentancur could do a reasonable job in the number 10 role. He's good at finding space. He's got a good overall view of the game. He passes well and he presses well as well. So for me, pushing him forward into the 10 would not be a bad situation. I wouldn't be completely against that. So I think there are players that we could make it work.
Right,
we could take a risk. We could take an absolutely massive risk. Massive risk. And we could play Luca Williams-Barnett. We could play a 16-year-old in that position.
Odegaard,
we're not going to do it, but we could.
Odegaard has played there as well.
Kudus has played there as well.
And they say Kudus can play there. So, this is this thing with Frank. You know what? If that's what he's got, let's see what he can do with it. That's my thing. If he's the new guy in, but we haven't mentioned dear Ange once yet.
We're trying not to. We're trying to look forwards. Forwards is the way we're moving, Ash. We're not going backwards. However much I love the guy, and I love the guy, but let's look forwards.
The pressure has to be on Frank. Go like, Well, how do you duplicate that? What are you're not going to win a top flight trophy this year, because the
Mm.
League Cup or the FA Cup are not top flight trophies, but that's the only two that we've got a shot at doing. So at his best, he's not going to duplicate what the team did last season, which is win a European trophy.
If he could duplicate Ange's first season, that would be all right.
That
Manager of the month in the first 3 months, and then they got fifth,
and
leading
ending
the
up.
league in the first 10 games. Yeah, that would work for me. I'd be okay with that.
Mhm.
But I've seen a lot of people complaining, oh well, new manager, suddenly we have to buy in new players to make it work. Well, the only reason we need to buy in players is because certain places were left unfilled
Yep.
that Ange needed. Ange needed those players. Ange needed a player like Kudus. Ange needed a player like Palinha, maybe someone potentially a little bit more progressive with his passing, but he needed a defensive midfielder, right?
Yep.
He needed
Yep.
those players. And apparently Frank has come in and he's asked for the same kind of players, and he's setting the team up to play the same kind of football, although we did seem to start 4-4-2 against Bayern, which was interesting, with Pat Matassar playing as the second striker. Um, there's options. We can do different things.
There are options.
But again, if Ange was here, he'd be facing exactly the same problems.
Yeah,
And that's
absolutely.
why I don't lay this at Thomas Frank's door. I don't think these are issues that are caused by Thomas Frank, right?
Mhm.
The injury issue with James Maddison, that was a freak injury.
Same
Okay,
with
potentially.
Kulusevski as
Sorry,
well. We're saying with
Kulusevski.
depth.
Yeah, Kulusevski wasn't even on his watch. So that one's done. It's kind of disappointing, right? We've had a new manager come in and we've immediately lost effectively the star of the team before the season started. Again,
Yep.
that's exactly what happened with Ange. Ange came in, Harry Kane left.
Yep.
All right.
Yep. Yep.
Thomas Frank's come in, Sonny has left. And
Yep.
these are the stars of the team, the captain of the team, effectively. So it's tough. They're under the cosh right from the start. And I would love to see Thomas Frank come in and be the answer for what Tottenham Hotspur needs. I'm not sure it's going to be what's happened. I'm pretty sure it isn't, because I think he's a good manager, not a great manager. I think he's a steady, safe pair of hands, but I don't think he's inspired. And
So
I
that was so
think
what? Are you saying that? So I thought this whole brave attacking adventurous, compete on all four fronts. I thought that is supposed to be inspired. So you're saying you,
we're not going to compete on all four fronts. Have we got the squad to compete on all four? Ash, have we got the squad to compete on all four
of
fronts?
course not, but they both said it.
No. Ash, you are a journalist. You know when someone is giving you a line, they're spinning you a line in front of you. You've talked to
I
professional
do.
athletes, right? And you've known that what that person is saying is not 100% the truth, or even
Absolutely.
50% the truth, right?
Yep.
Somebody might have held up an NBA ring and said, "Yeah, I love this club. I'll be here for the rest of my career," and they're gone 3 months later, right?
Yep.
I'm sure you've got things just like that. You're not going to tell me who those people are because that would be unprofessional and that's not you. But you've had it, right?
Yep.
There you
Absolutely.
go. So,
Yeah. See,
what
but
people say in the press and what is the reality, two very different things.
yeah, but you made a point about you think he's the right guy for now. And what's right guy for now for what particular goal do you suggest?
Did I say he's the right guy for now? I think he's
Yeah, you
he's a,
said he
he's
was.
a, no. I said he's a solid, dependable option. He's not. It wasn't
No,
my choice.
you said he was the right guy for now or something like that. You did. You'll
I
check it
think he's the
out.
manager we've got. I'm not going to complain about the manager we've got. Okay, I think for the team we have, for the style of, not the style of play, for the setup, for the players we have, it works to bring in a manager like Thomas Frank because many of the elements are the same. You're still going to play the same kind of formation, right? You can play four at the back with one or two attacking fullbacks. Okay, you're going to be playing a deep lying midfielder and then maybe an 8 and a 10 or maybe two eights.
Maybe
Okay,
not. Maybe not so much inverted fullbacks.
well,
Uh,
one inverted fullback
and
apparently is
and
the way he
also
goes.
no, and also we're not going to be playing such a high line for sure. We're not going to be playing such a high line.
Well, Thomas Frank says not taking risks is taking a risk itself. So we'll
Oh,
see what
oh,
risks he's willing to take.
well, that's going back to your point you just made about me saying,
I know.
You can't believe what they say. Well, that's a
I,
great
I'm
that's a
with you.
great
I'm with
line.
you. It's a
That's a
great line.
great line. But the proof of the pudding. The proof of the pudding. Um, do you let's talk about next. First of all, we're not going to have any new players. We may not even have
We
Solanke for next.
might. We might. Who knows? Look, last time I did a podcast, right? Went through an entire podcast, and the very next day, Sonny left. I woke up the next morning, and Sonny and I suddenly had to get back on the editing table and do this whole clipped up thing of messages to Sonny. Love you, Sonny. I don't hold it against you. But it did not make my life easier. I spent the entire day editing and then had to do a morning afterwards. So thank you. But yeah, things change so quickly, right? The stuff we're talking about now could all be absolutely moot by the time this podcast goes out. It changes that quickly.
Yeah, well,
Because
Wednesday.
when we signed Odegaard, I had no idea where Odegaard was going. My dad was in hospital, right? By the time it took me to drive from where my dad lived, where he was staying, to the hospital to go pick him up, I opened up my phone, right? And Odegaard signed. Half an hour. Half an hour is all it was. So that's how quickly things can
Yeah,
change.
but he maybe he'll prove to be, but he was not. That was not a groundbreaking signing. And my question was
He
this:
was a decent amount of money.
not a groundbreaking signing. We're playing on Wednesday. My point was
Yeah.
this: is that we're not going to have anybody in playing by Wednesday. So that was leading to next Wednesday's game where we may not even have Solanke. Uh,
Mm.
what are we looking about at that game? I mean, are we going to get tonked? I mean, it may be an Ange type game, a Europa type game where we're going to play all hands to on deck, and let's hope we get a penalty or a free kick or whatever, and win 1-0.
Okay, so PSG only returned to training a few days ago.
Yeah. So
Like
did
literally the beginning of this week. On
so
Monday
did
this
Bayern.
week, they returned to training. We
Yeah.
are
So did
recording on Saturday for everybody, but on Monday this week, they returned to training.
yeah.
Okay,
But
so
so did
they've come in.
yeah.
So yeah, so did Bayern. Absolutely.
So did
That's the
Bayern.
thing. Bayern came in and tanked us straight away.
Yeah.
Even worse, when they brought their kids on, they got better. So that was worrying.
Um,
Yeah. But the reality is, I thought the Club World. I watched two games in the Club World Cup. I watched PSG against Real Madrid, and I watched PSG against Chelsea. PSG against Real Madrid. I thought, wow, what a team! PSG are going to absolutely tonk us. They're going to walk all over us. It could be 6 or 7. Right? It could end up very, very embarrassing because they are absolutely fantastic. And then you watch them against Chelsea, and Chelsea went in with a game plan,
Yep.
and that game plan is copyable with the players we've got. Right?
What was the game plan?
The game plan was you let their fullbacks get forward and create spaces. You press them in the middle. You turn the ball over and you ping it to where their fullback isn't. You put it behind their fullback and you let your pacey attacking players take advantage of the space. Right, and they did. Yeah,
Of
and it
course they've
worked.
got well, of course they've got Cole Palmer, and we don't really have a player like that. So,
We got Berraval. Berraval's amazing.
oh yeah,
Beef
he
ball.
could be.
Beef ball's amazing.
He could
Yeah,
be. Listen, I would like to see Baravel become a superstar this season. I'd love to see it happen. And maybe he can.
he's gonna do it. It'll be wonderful. But there's maybe it's one of those things where you look and you go, the injuries have given the opportunity and the space for the youngsters to step up and make things happen. And let's see whether that starts with this PSG game. If
Yeah,
PSG players,
what youngsters you talking about? Because they're all out. They're all shipped out.
Berraval, Gray, if they can step up and be first team
Oh, yeah.
wunderkids,
Those
if they
guys
can
you
do
talk.
that, that would be fantastic. But PSG are a very, very, very difficult side to beat. They did not lose many games last season. They effectively walked the league. They looked the best side in the Club World Cup until they met Chelsea, who just were the more organised side.
Yep.
And I think if Thomas Frank, I'm sure he will have watched that game several times. He'll have seen the same things I did and said, right, there's stuff we can do there and we can make it work. But if we don't have Solanke, things get immeasurably more difficult because although I love Richarlison, I think he's a wonderful, fantastic person. I love the shithousery that he comes up with. I love the infectious attitude. Top class leading the line striker, he is no longer. He's just not that guy.
Yep.
So again, in the Europa League final, he ran himself into the ground, chased down everything. He was absolutely brilliant, and I thought probably he was my man of the match. But that was kind of a one-off because the season before we saw that kind of performance once. That
He
season
start,
we saw that
he,
performance once.
he started on the left, didn't he? For that final,
Yeah,
Solanke
started in
was on.
place of Son. Yeah,
Okay, good.
Son replaced him later on in the game.
Yeah. Well, if he starts on the left, and Solanke's out,
Well, we better have Solanke fit, otherwise it's Dane Scarlett, who maybe that's going to be an issue. Yeah, it's
So
tough, really tough.
you're hopeful then for Wednesday.
I'm always hopeful. I'm a Spurs fan of long standing. I live on hope and aspiration, because if I didn't, I would yeah, I'd be long dead in the ground. The day that I don't go into a season with hope and joy is the day that there's a major problem. I am hopeful that we're going to have a good season. I am joyous that the football's coming back. I was kind of glad the football was ending last season because it felt like a bit of a slog at times. But I'm joyous to see the football is back. I'm looking forward to the start of the season. I'm looking forward to this game so that we can test ourselves against a very good team. I am not going to go completely overboard if we lose badly. I was unhappy with the Bayern game, but I thought it's pre-season and we've got players missing. Just like the Arsenal game, I did not go overboard. I saw a lot of people online going, "Oh, this game against Arsenal shows us exactly what we can do and how we're gonna do so well in the league this year." Yeah, we did well, but we scored a fairly. It wasn't a fluke shot, but it was a fluky set of circumstances that led to the goal. As I said, if Pat Matasar can ping it in from just outside the centre circle in 2 out of 3 games, perfect. We'll do that. But we're going to need to win a lot of games 1-0 this season. We're absolutely going to need to win a lot of games 1-0. And there's going to be a lot of grinding it out, which isn't my favourite thing. But we'll see how it goes. What are your thoughts? Do you think we're going to do well in the city of
Well,
Udine
then
against PSG?
um, I think I already said it. I think we're gonna pack it in. It depends if Solanke. He's a very important player for us, even if he's not
Yeah.
scoring goals. Even if he's not scoring goals. I think we're gonna pack it in. Let's hope that we don't crumble, because it could turn into a tonking if we let a couple in. It could just, they don't care and they go, okay, it's just a thing. I'd love to see us win. Come on, I'd love to see us win another
Of
cup
course.
and put it to them. I'm going to go to the pub. We're going to go there early and hopefully celebrate. But I wouldn't be surprised if we do get tonked. Given the issues that we have in terms of injuries and lack of creativity. But if young lads, like you said, if Gray, Berival, and Sa rise to the occasion and prove their worth, I'd be happier than amazing. I'm just pragmatic about the result. We're probably not going to win, but be happy with a win. Expect the best. Hope for the best, expect the worst. So there you go.
Yeah. That's as about as good as we can get, I think, frankly, because yeah, hoping for the best is what we need to. It's what we do. We're Tottenham fans. We live for this, right? We hope.
Yeah.
We live for hoping for the best.
And the fact that we're actually playing in that game is fantastic. That's just
we earned the right to play in that game. People go on about, oh, it was an easy run to the final. Wasn't that easy? Wasn't that easy? Frankfurt,
you know
a good
what?
side. Border Glimt at home are a tough side to beat. Wasn't as easy as people say.
And we also had a good run in the League Cup too, Stu.
Yeah.
We really did. We beat United and City, and then played Liverpool, with possibly the best team definitely the best team in England, and maybe one of the best teams in Europe. So we had a really tough run, really good run in the League Cup in 2 cup competitions last year. So it'd be nice if we could do that again this year. But we do have elements missing, which
Of course. Isn't it the Tottenham way? We can't go into the start of the season fully composed and prepared. That just wouldn't work. We haven't done that in a decade. When did we last feel that we were absolutely ready? Juan de Ramos, I think we won 6 preseason games and thought, yeah, well, this is going to be our year. And that was 3 points in 8 games.
No. Ange's first year, 10 to 10.
Yeah.
10.
No, but even then we didn't think that it was a fully prepared and ready ready team. We thought there are holes in this side. We need more. We need more backup at left back. We need a defensive midfield that's going to knit everything together. Nobody thought that time was absolutely finished.
Oh yeah, I thought we
Nobody
were going to
thought
win the
it
league
was.
that after 10 games.
After 10 games, I thought, yeah, we're going to win the league. But at the start of the season, I had my concerns.
And Madison was the best player in the league for after 10 games.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and maybe he will be once again in the future.
Yeah,
Good
I
luck.
doubt.
Good luck, Madders. We're
Good
rooting for
luck.
you. Really are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And good luck to Sonny as well, for sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
I've put together, using FOTMob, the mobile app. I've got a list of players that I'm following. I haven't put Sonny on there because I just don't want to have my heart broken every week when I see him starting for another club. I'm sure we're going to see plenty of it on, clips on YouTube and things like that. Did you hear he has outsold Lionel Messi in terms of the MLS kits sold since he joined the club?
Is he getting number 7? I didn't even
Yeah,
look.
yeah, he's number 7. Yeah,
Yeah, there is a huge Korean community here in LA.
yeah.
Being LA is so big, you can imagine the numbers are bigger than they are in London.
Mm.
And I know there's a pool down there that I go to down in Koreatown. We actually call it Koreatown over here. So yeah, that's to be expected. It's a very, very smart move on their part in terms of merchandising and sales. Yeah, I didn't realize that.
And he's still a very, very good player. He's going to rip that league apart. He really
I don't
is.
know, but I don't know if that's quite true, Stu. Um,
Oh, I think he will. What I'm considering though. I looked at the manager, Steve Cherundolo.
yeah,
Doesn't have an inspiring record as manager, and I
none of
thought,
these.
is there a chance? Is there just bear with me here? Is there a chance that they get rid of their manager fairly early on in since Son arrived, and they bring in a certain Ange Postecoglou to get them playing the football that they want and try and win something? That would be interesting. I might start watching a few games then.
It's funny how he's been pretty quiet, isn't it? I don't. Has he even said anything since he left?
The only time I've seen him quoted was a piece in the Athletic talking about Son bringing Sonny in as a captain and the kind of guy he is, and that was after Sonny's departure. That's the only thing I've seen. He's been linked to a few jobs in Saudi Arabia, sadly, but luckily it doesn't look like he's taking it up because that would probably ruin my my good feelings towards a man because I have very, very poor feelings towards the Saudi Arabian league. I have to be honest.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's another point. Well, since you just mentioned it, what if could change our team? What if the Saudis actually come in and first of all, the first thing would be the naming rights.
Hmm.
What if they actually come in and do that, which would be the first step to actually taking over the club?
So if they came in and they purchased the naming rights of the
Stadium.
Yeah, I've given this thought. I really don't see it happening because Saudis have got investment in Newcastle, and I
Yeah.
don't think they would weaken their position there by investing into us. I think Qatari investment is probably a lot more likely. Um,
Whatever. By the way, the Saudis, somebody else said, well, they'll just
yeah,
shift it to another pocket and then they can do it. But you're right.
no.
If it's not them, I don't know. It could be the Qataris. So same question. What if they come in? What's your take? They're still an oil state, What if they come in?
Yeah, it's another regime I'm not particularly happy with.
Right.
Their
Right.
human rights abuse record is pretty bad,
Yes, it is.
and I think there's a very good chance that we would be enjoying ourselves talking about a successful Tottenham Hotspur side, but we would all know in the back of our minds that this has effectively been bought with blood money,
Absolutely.
and I think we would be potentially putting just a little segment in every single CADS episode talking about what atrocity has happened in name your country here this week. It may not make me very popular with the lords and rulers of potentially Tottenham Hotspur, but we'll see. Did you watch what's it called the Gary Neville interview? Can't remember the name of it.
Just parts of it.
Overlook.
Just parts of it. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a little bit where they were talking about state investment and Daniel Levy did not rule it out. He didn't come down particularly heavy on it. He was like, we've got to be wary of it, but I'm not against it per se. So yeah, it's a possibility. Of course it
It's a
is. It's money.
it
It's
might
money.
actually not only is a possibility for us to compete with those other teams. It may be the only option, quite frankly.
Mm.
It may be, unfortunately, and I've thought about this for the last 5, 6 years. Well, my interest in Spurs over obviously just with age and whatever, you start waning. You just go, well, I've been supported them a long time. And when they lose now, it's like, whatever. So I'm telling you, I wrote about this 5 years ago, saying that actually during the Champions League run when we got to the final, I said, you know what, if we win this, I might just I actually used the term I might become a part-time fan as opposed to a full-time.
Retire your full-time support.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
and quite frankly, I don't go to as many games even at the pub anymore because it was, as kind of turgid most of last season. So why go? But I am going on Wednesday and hoping for the best, expecting the worst.
Yeah, I'm kind of looking to get to one game. I live in France. It's not easy for me to get to matches. It's a hell of a lot easier for me to get to a match than you. But I am trying to look to get to a match this season. But it's just getting hold of tickets and travel arrangements. And, for those that don't know, I am a lowly English teacher. I don't earn a lot of money, and money is tight right now. But podcasting does not pay the bills, by the way. So, yeah.
Yeah,
But I'm hoping to make it to a match. It would be interesting to see, but maybe not right at the start of the season.
gotcha. All
Yeah.
right. So what are we saying? You're saying same thing. Hope for the best, expect the worst for next Wednesday. I'd like to see us hold another cup up with Cuti
Yeah.
Romero.
Look, if Thomas Frank can be the first Tottenham manager to win a cup in his first competitive match, that would be fantastic. I will take that every single day of the week. Keep that run going. Absolutely. Yeah, but it's a bit of an ask. That's all I'm going to say. It's a bit of an ask.
Yes,
And this isn't me doubting the ability of Thomas Frank. This is just me. I guess what I'm doubting is the willingness of Daniel Levy to actually put pedal to the metal, to you know put his money where his mouth is, just risk something a little bit more. That is my doubt. I think we're going to be a side that is continually short of something until new owners come in or Daniel Levy finds $1 billion sitting somewhere, £1 billion sitting somewhere that can be invested into the club, and nobody's worrying about it. But I think even if $1 billion came through, he'd be like, "Oh, we've got another hotel to build." Who knows? But hey, all right. I suppose we better call it a day there. We will be back after the PSG match. Hopefully, there'll be a couple more CADs with us. But if not, I will be there. Ash, you joining me?
Next Thursday, I think so. Let,
Yeah.
let's let, let's hope we have something positive to talk about.
Well, I'm sure we'll have something to talk about. There always is. It's Tottenham. But yeah, we'll be back on Thursday. Thank you very much for joining us in this season opener. I hope you all enjoyed your summer. I hope you appreciate the fact that we did not spam your inbox with completely useless podcasts. Until next time, come on, you Spurs.
I'm on you, Spurs.